from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Checking in on the pulse of the ag economy, plus a return to the Texas Panhandle as it recovers from recent wildfires. In agribusiness, it's cattle markets that are hot.
While we're falling asleep on the grain side, it's been just fireworks nonstop, really over the last 7 months.
Watermelon supplies look ample for summer eating and utilizing the great outdoors in the battle against cancer.
AgDay, brought to you by the dependable, longest-lasting Chevy Silverado.
Good morning, I'm Clint Griffiths. Farmers seem optimistic that farmland values will improve, but it may take a little while to get there. That's the bottom line of the monthly Ag Barometer from Purdue University and the CME Group. Of the 400 agricultural producers who were surveyed in May, 19% thought farmland values in their area would be higher in 12 months than currently. In contrast, 30% say they expect farmland values to decline over the next year. But when you look out 5 years, 40% say they expect farmland prices will be higher in 5 years than they are today. That's twice as many farmers who are more optimistic about land in the long term.
And looking at the rest of our survey data, a little more than 8 out of 10 producers surveyed expect farmland prices 5 years from now to be either the same as or higher than they are today. So when you stretch out the time frame, it's clear that producers are more optimistic about farmland values than they are in the short run.
Overall, the Ag Barometer of farmer sentiment is unchanged from last month. However, Mintert says producers' outlook is considerably stronger now than it was a year ago or last fall prior to the election. The survey also asking farmers about the North American Free Trade Agreement. A clear majority, 83%, believe it should be renegotiated, and 6 out of 10 believe the outcome will benefit U.S. farmers.
In several of our previous Ag Economy Barometer surveys, 93% of the respondents rated ag exports as important to the ag economy, and 80% of producers rated ag exports as important for their own farms. So we know ag producers definitely view ag exports as important.
Cautious optimism seems to be rampant in many parts of agriculture right now, even though early forecasts in 2017 called for major turbulence. In an AgDay exclusive, Farmer Mac says several factors have changed since the start of the year.
Certainly demand plays a huge function of it. The strength of the dollar has come back a little bit, so it got a lot stronger in 2016. It's come back in 2017. The world economies are growing a little bit better than maybe we expected them to. Some of the policy changes that have been proposed for the Trump administration haven't really taken effect yet, so maybe some of the expectations around the strength of the dollar have come down. That opens up the market for more exports. Even though there's a lot of people talking about what does it mean for NAFTA, what does it mean pulling out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, we're still able to sell a lot of goods overseas, and having a weaker dollar is only going to help that. So demand is a big driver for the prices holding up despite the excess supplies.
Speaking of demand, after sizzling in March, U.S. red meat exports cooled down a bit in April, but they are still much higher than a year ago. U.S. Meat Export Federation just releasing its monthly analysis. It shows beef exports in April were 13% higher than a year ago in volume. USMEF says pork exports in April were solid, up 8% from a year ago in volume. Ahead of pending NAFTA renegotiations, the U.S. and Mexican governments have reached a deal on sugar shipments. Now, that's according to Reuters. Their sources telling them that they're finalizing the details, sidestepping what would have been a significant increase in duties and likely Mexican retaliation on U.S. corn syrup. Reuters says the deal lowers the amount of refined sugar Mexico can export to the U.S. and cuts the quality it can ship as well. U.S. sugar refiners are accusing Mexico of dumping subsidized sugar into the market, undercutting their businesses. Timely spring rains have helped heal the southern plains landscape ravaged by spring wildfires. Now in early March, wind and fire destroyed more than 1 million acres, homes, livestock, and it took lives. Betsy Gibbon traveled to the panhandle of Texas where the smoke is gone, but the memories are still burning.
It's easy to see these Texas fields are ready to plant as another season is upon Ochiltree County farmer Ryan Johnson. But it's much harder to see from inside the cab, where memories burn images of wildfire raging across the countryside, still too fresh to call the past.
I was actually on this tractor right here, and we got the call, and I just suddenly looked up, and there it was.
The Perrington wildfire in the panhandle of Texas rolled through, untamed and without discrimination. In Texas' 500,000 acres chart, the State Animal Health Commission puts the figure at 2,500 head of cattle and 1,900 hogs lost to the flames.
This land right here to the north of us and then way out here to the south, this is the area kind of where the fire originated. Within 5 miles of here is where the fire started.
Recollections many people share together in the panhandle of Texas.
I was up at the elevator and we've got big liquid tanks we haul fertilizer around in, and we started filling up tanks with water and bringing it down here to help.
It's hard to believe in March the terrain could look so different. Today the grass is gaining strength.
It's grown back, not grazable yet, but it's starting to grow back. These recent rains are really helping us out.
Moisture Texas producers don't normally see. The National Weather Service in Amarillo says pockets of Ochiltree County saw 5 to 6 inches of precipitation this spring, 200 to 300% of normal.
So you can kind of see it's recovering pretty well with the moisture we had. If this were a drought year, this grass would not look this good.
Yet ranchers say some producers may be able to put livestock back out this fall, while for others it may be years, depending on damage.
Pretty much anywhere where it's green and there's not any brown grass or any weeds coming up is where the fire burned.
While restoring forage is a slow process, the community response has been fast.
It was pretty neat to see how a small town reacts to a disaster like this, to see where all the people came in, they all helped each other out, nobody was fighting, nobody was angry, they all just worked together. And for what one common goal was to make sure that everybody was taken care of. It was pretty neat.
Life here is slowly getting back to normal.
It's come back really well.
Growing grass, rebuilding fence, and planting crops. These producers are resilient.
I'm sure there's people that are hurting worse off than they're even talking about.
But their progress may be harder to see. Reporting for AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. Now, tomorrow we'll look at efforts to replace and mend the thousands of miles of fencing that were destroyed by the wildfire. Drovers and the Farm Journal Foundation started the $1 million Wildfire Relief Challenge to help ranchers rebuild. The Howard G. Buffett Foundation says they'll double it up to $1 million. So far, more than $500,000 has come in from folks in 46 states. The funds will go to the Working Ranch Cowboys Association for grants to help rebuild fencing. Now, you can learn more at wildfirerelieffund.org. Mike Hoffman has a look at today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Clinton. Matt Swanson in La Harpe, Illinois is spraying corn planted May 8th. He says later planted crops need a rain to help early growth and finish emergence. USDA says 59% of the Illinois corn crop is considered good to excellent so far. And this next photo comes from Jefferson County, Georgia, where corn is growing nicely. However, USDA does not show the state's corn conditions in its latest crop progress report, since Georgia isn't one of the top 18 corn producing states. But that picture there makes it look pretty good. Here's the way things are shaping up on the root zone moisture. We'll talk more about this with Clinton coming up, but you can see some pockets of concern there. We'll have your forecast in a few minutes, but first, here are some hometown temps.
This is Machinery Pete, inviting you to check out my new website, machinerypete.com. Offering farmers tens of thousands of used equipment listings to search, let Machinery Pete help you find and value your next piece of used equipment.
Cattle markets have been surprising in recent months. When we come back, we'll take a look at the rally and where it may be headed. Analysis you won't want to miss if you're in the cattle business. And later, finding peace in the battle against breast cancer, one fly and one fish at a time.
AgDay is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest-lasting pickups.
In agribusiness, weather is starting to catch the eye of traders in Chicago. Let's see how markets close from the floor of the scene.
The corn market was sharply higher here on Tuesday. As a matter of fact, our July corn futures traded their highest levels since early March. The December futures were also along for the ride here, trading up into the upper 390s. So we're into some new multi-month highs here, and the futures acting pretty strong. I think we've got a little bit of a weather trade on our hands here. The weather models are calling for very warm weather to hit most of the Corn Belt this coming weekend. It's going to stick around for a few days. We're going to see temperatures in the upper 80s and even up into the mid 90s in some areas Saturday, Sunday into Monday. Now, prior to today, it looked like we were going to see some rains next week. A lot of those rains have been removed from the forecast here at midday. So the market acting as if we've got a potential weather threat. You know, it's still June and we're not into the real heart of the growing season. Everyone always says the corn crop's made in July, but this is a little bit of a threat here, and it could be enough to result in some short covering. We've got a USDA report on Friday morning. This is the monthly crop production and WASDE report. You know, the trade's going to watch for any changes to the demand numbers, any changes to the South American production numbers. Maybe USDA adjusts their yield number a little bit. I think the trade's going to take most of this with a grain of salt. We'll trade the report for a few hours, but we're going to be back to a weather market after that. Again, Joe Vaklovic for CME Group here in Chicago.
John Payne, Daniels Ag Marketing, our guest here at the Agribusiness Desk. John, let's talk about maybe what I might call the most exciting market in commodities right now, which is cattle markets.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness sakes, this thing it's been on fire for the last few months.
Yeah, while we're falling asleep on the grain side, it's been just fireworks nonstop, really over the last 7 months. Going back to October, we got a lot of interest from bankers and different producers who were saying, okay, now we need to market risk. We need to get involved in the board. And it's amazing. Now the market has flipped on its head, and nobody really wants to get in and participate in this stuff. And I would say the next 3 to 4 months in cattle could be some of the wildest we've seen, even throwing in what's happened in the last 2 years, given that this is a demand side rally.
Right. You know, it's interesting, right?
Yeah,
we've
seen
got
that.
China that could be coming back online. Our exports are phenomenal. We're increasing the herd and herd size, so we've got product to sell.
Yeah.
India, the whole India story, that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of producers dump out in October, and essentially we've seen the market flip on its head from that point. So, as I say,
so how do we handle it?
It's
What do we
different.
do?
It's a difficult market because you can wait for these supply reports that come out from the USDA, and that's typically a time if you're a grain trader to say, okay, that's when the market will move because you're getting that supply news. But this is different. We're getting demand, and so these auctions are almost operating as their own little WASDE reports. And when we get good auctions, the front price rallies. Since we saw this last week, June go off the board and essentially go off the board right on that cash price where we've been trading out in Kansas, right around 130, 134. Yeah. And now you look at August, back down at 121. So is this thing just going to continue to do the opposite of what the grain markets are doing, where we're dumping it into the low price? We're actually doing the opposite in cattle, rallying into those delivery periods. I'd say watch the spread between feeders. If feeders get really wide over the fats, I think that could be a sign of a little bit of a top. But in my opinion, I think we've got some room to rally here.
Yeah,
Serious
room, a little room?
To sit and say we couldn't rally 20%, which at a 150 feeder price puts us at what? Do the math on that. 180?
Yeah, right.
170? You want to be hedging on those moves. Don't hedge it when it's quiet. Market it when it's loud.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to make your best decisions when it's hard.
Well, and it might just be a little bit of fun.
That's right.
All right, John, appreciate your perspective. Thanks for being here. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
To follow John Payne's take on the market, check out www.thisweekingrain.com.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Your meteorologist, Mike Hoffman. Mike, as the markets have been watching closely, there is dryness starting to show up in some pretty key parts of the country.
Right. The Dakotas, southeast Ohio, parts of West Virginia, and also there in the central Mississippi Valley, Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri. And Clinton pointed out to me during the break that this area right here in the central Mississippi Valley had a lot of replant. So this is corn, soybeans trying to emerge now with drier conditions. So these are all areas of concern anyway, but you can see some other areas are still on the wet side. Gulf Coast area especially, Texas, Louisiana, into Mississippi. Florida is getting wetter anyway, and there's still some rain coming your way over the next couple of days. So we'll be watching things. You can see it's just generally wetter than normal in the far western portions of the country. Here's the weather map. There's the storm system right along the Gulf Coast, slowly moving across the northern part of Florida today, so lots of showers and thunderstorms. Good news for that area. Obviously, that's really the lingering area of severe drought in the whole country. Weak little system across the northern plains. None of this is causing widespread heavy rains except that southeastern storm, and that's gone by tomorrow morning, moving offshore. So there just isn't a lot of moisture across the country. Huge domes of high pressure from the Great Lakes down into eastern Texas as we head through the day tomorrow. You can see some showers and thunderstorms along this front. So if you get lucky in some of these northern plains areas, you will get a little bit of rain out of that. And you can see the afternoon variety showers and thunderstorms popping up with that desert low in the southwest. That's kind of typical for this time of the year. Next system coming into the west coast, western Washington, Oregon, northern California getting some rain. There's a precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours, and you can see most of it has been in the far southeast. Adding in the next 36, you can see some more added across many parts of Florida. And again, that is good news. That's the last part that's really having a severe drought. But areas that are getting drier, we're not seeing a lot of moisture here. Remember the root zone moisture map. So those areas could end up getting into drought if this continues. High temperatures this afternoon only in the 60s in the middle Atlantic, back into the eastern Ohio Valley, 70s and 80s across most of the plain states and the southeast. Lows tonight on the pleasant or comfortable 50s across most of the Corn Belt, even down toward the Gulf Coast, close to 70, and highs tomorrow afternoon. More of the same, lots of 80s as you can see, Gulf Coast and the high plains. Checking out the jet stream, there's that lingering trough in the east, just kind of sits there. It's reinforced for a couple of days. And over the weekend, it's all replaced by a big ridge, and the next trough is having a tough time digging into that ridge. So we'll have to watch that as we head into next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Elko, Nevada, good deal of sunshine and hot today, high temperature of 94. Redfield, South Dakota, partly sunny, comfortably warm, high of 81. And Frankfort, Kentucky, variably cloudy, rather cool. Could be a shower in spots, high around 70.
When we come back, checking watermelon supplies in the southeast, that's on Packer TV, and later, finding a way to beat cancer, one cast at a time.
Ag Day, brought to you by Top Third Ag Marketing, Farmer First with a plan for every market.
From our partners at the Packer, according to USDA, don't expect a soft, dried plum crop this year. California expected to drop a heavier crop with good fruit size. Prunes forecast to be double last year, loading 105,000 tons. That's on 2% fewer acres. From our partners over the Packer, quality and quantity won't be a problem in the watermelon market from the 4th of July. That's according to the executive director at the National Watermelon Promotion Board. He says early season cold doesn't appear to have impacted fields as much as thought. Volume should be adequate ahead of the 4th of July weekend. The produce world has lost one of the most innovative leaders. Howard Margulies founded Sun World International. Well, he died last week from complications of cancer. And according to the Packer, Margulies built a reputation as a leader in U.S. agribusiness. He was named one of the most influential leaders of the produce industry over the past 100 years. Margulies is credited with bringing then unfamiliar fruits and vegetables to U.S. consumers, such as Hawaiian pineapples, to the U.S. mainland. Sun World was also a leader in vine-ripened tomatoes and seedless watermelon. Margulies was 82. Well, up next, we head in the country to Vermont as cancer survivors see how spending time in the great outdoors can have a therapeutic effect on their recovery.
You can help make a difference in the lives of ranchers who lost so much. Go to wildfirerelief.org to learn more about a $1 million match in relief funds from the Howard G. Buffett Foundation. In the country, brought to you by Kubota. See the all-new Commander Pro zero-turn mower at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Women who are battling breast cancer are finding a form of treatment at a fly fishing retreat in Vermont. The event is called Casting for Recovery. The program was started by a breast cancer surgeon and a female fly fishing guide 20 years ago. The theory was that the gentle motion of the fly casting would be therapeutic for patients who had surgery or radiation. While the retreat offers plenty of tips on angling, more importantly, it offers the women support, counseling, medical information, and relaxation.
If you think of where you fish and when you fish, and today we're out on the river, this beautiful setting, the birds, the trees are in bloom, so that piece is also healing.
And I just feel like, you know, improving my quality of life means doing the things that I enjoy doing, and I think that will definitely help, because it's stressful going through treatment and working and all the other things that you have, and to find things that you really enjoy is definitely a good idea. Great idea, actually.
The organizer says oftentimes 70% of women who come to the retreats have never attended any form of support group for breast cancer survivors, and that's what they find there. And that's all the time that we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Start your day with us. For Betsy Gibbon and Mike Hoffman, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
AgDay is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest-lasting pickups.